This is Kate Swoboda, creator of YourCourageousLife.com, director of the Courageous Living Coach certification at TeamCLCC.com, and author of the book, The Courage Habit, which is available at booksellers and at Amazon. The Your Courageous Life podcast is all about going after what you want and creating and living a more courageous, emotionally resilient life. Might drop a couple of F-bombs, so maybe don't listen with your kids in the backseat of the car. And here we go with today's episode. Hey, everybody. So today's episode is going to talk about what to do when you're feeling lost and confused. And I want to ask for something very, very important from the get-go. And it is that if you know that as you're listening to today's episode on feeling lost and confused, if there's any part of you that is in that space of like, I'm feeling lost and confused, I don't know that I want to live, I feel like maybe the earth would be better without me, I worry that I'm a burden to everybody around me, if there are thoughts of self-harm, thoughts of suicide, I want you to stop listening to this and actually take what I know, if you are in that space, would be a very difficult and challenging, yet it is such a courageous step. I want you to get help. There are a couple of different resources that you can turn to. One is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Association, that is at www.sam as in Mary, hsa.gov. There, you could also just go and Google, suicide help, or help for suicidal thoughts, or help for depressed thoughts. But I just really needed to start today's episode with that encouragement for anyone who's in the lost and confused space where they really know, like, this is not good. Even if you suspect that it is not good, I want you to get that help because you deserve the best help that can be offered, and a podcast episode is not it. Today's episode, focusing on feeling lost and confused, is not about a suicidal kind of feeling lost and confused. It's about those times in life where you just feel like kind of stuck, and the lost is kind of like, I don't know which way to go. The confused is like, I feel like I could go this way, but then I talk myself out of it and I second guess it, and I, kind of make some action steps towards going in that way, but then I get all tangled up, and then that's what today's episode is about. And I do sometimes get emails from people who are actually in more of a space of questioning their lives and whether or not they should live. And if you have ever thought of sending me an email like that, I want you to instead reach out and get help from someone who can really sit down in person with you face to face and give you the help that you deserve, because the help I might be able to offer via email, it's just so limited. And the help I would offer when and do offer whenever I do get those kinds of emails is always, these are the resources that you need to reach out to. I care. I want you to have the best possible help. I'm not it for somebody who's dealing with feelings of suicide or wondering whether or not they should exist. And I just send you so much love and courage, because that is a really, really hard space to walk through. I've been there, and because I've been there, I can tell you the podcast, the blog, that's not the best help that can be offered to you. The best help that can be offered to you is to call one of the hotlines and get the help that you deserve. So, okay, that having been said, here we go with the rest of today's episode. So if we're just talking about the kind of lost and confused where it's like life just feels so freaking stuck, and you're like, I know there's a way out of this, but it just feels really, really stuck. I'm feeling lost and confused. First, when you're feeling lost and confused, try this. Set a period of time where you don't do anything. Not doing something when you feel lost and confused can be a really healthy action. Most of us, when we're feeling lost and confused, go back and forth between totally hiding out from our problems at one extreme, like I'm just going to, I don't see you. It's not going to pay attention to that. And then on the other end of the extreme, pushing to try to get life to be better. How do I fix it? What do I need to do? I'm going to fix it. I'm going to change it. I'm going to hustle. And it's like that can become perfectionism. It can feel like spinning your wheels. It can be very exhausting. So I'm not talking about, when I say don't do anything, I'm not talking about hiding out. Okay. Hiding out is numbing. Hiding out is numbing with substances, with stuff, with, hanging out in front of the TV for hours on end. What I mean is don't do anything to try to fix it yet. So instead of like dashing off that email because you got to fix it, it's like, hold on, pause, go for a walk, slow down a little bit. So first, if you're feeling lost and confused, just pause and slow down. It's going to be okay. I'm slowing down a little bit, just even talking about this topic. It's like we live in a culture where people just do not get a lot of time to just process their experiences. So slow down, pause. It's going to be okay. This becomes your mantra when that lost and confused sort of anxiety is nipping at your heels. Second thing to do when you feel lost and confused, make a decision that it's time to look at the hard stuff. Make a decision. It is time. I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling confused. And the reason I'm saying it's time to look at the hard stuff is because you don't get to lost and confused by accident. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not saying this kind of like, if get it together, pull it all together, come on, get your shit together. No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're feeling lost and confused, there are reasons for that. And there's all kinds of stuff that might need to be examined. Maybe the reason you're feeling lost and confused is because you're spending way too much time in an office cubicle and you just need like a little more exercise. Maybe you're feeling lost and confused because you're eating way too much sugar and it's like throwing your insulin, completely out of whack. And I don't mean for people who are diabetic. Insulin has a profound effect on everyone. Try going without food for a bit and getting that low blood sugar. You can't think, you can't concentrate. When you have low blood sugar, you feel lost and confused. If you are hooked on sugar and you are constantly hitting the coffee, hitting the sugar, hitting the, caramel frappa, blah, 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 blah from Starbucks, whatever. If like every single thing in your life is coming back to, I'm like, needing sugar. It's like that is affecting your insulin. It is affecting your processing. Maybe you need to look at the thing that feels unsayable. Parker Palmer's book, Let Your Life Speak. It's so beautiful. What is the thing that is not being said that needs to be said? Jerry Colonna, Reboot, another great book that asks that question. So you decide, I am tired of feeling lost and confused. And instead of trying to run over there in a perfection mode with like a to-do list, instead of numbing out, I'm just going to slow down. And I'm going to look at the hard stuff, the stuff of who am I really? And what's gotten me here? What are the patterns that I notice? One of the reasons I talk about patterns in my book, The Courage Habit, is that these patterns end up running on default and we don't even think about them. In fact, some people take them on as an identity, like, oh yeah, I'm such a people pleaser. People pleasing is a pattern. You weren't born into this world a people pleaser. It's not stamped on your forehead. You became a people pleaser after you spent enough time practicing people pleasing behaviors and the mindset that feeds into people pleasing and the fears that feed into people pleasing. So if you want to shift out of that, you got to look at the hard stuff. And I don't call my website yourcourageouslife.com for nothing. I want to help you look straight on at the things that are difficult to be with. And part of that means getting real about what hasn't been working and what needs to change. Now, one of the things that I offer to help with that is actually a free tool. There are several free tools available in the Your Courageous Life library, but there's a free tool in particular that you might want, well, I guess two actually that you might want to look at. One is the shift plan. And it's this process of looking at different components of your life and seeing what's not working in each of those components and moving from the confusion of that to clarity. So you make a plan for shifting. One of the other resources that I offer, again, totally for free, is called the Fear Patterns Workbook. So you can identify those fear patterns and then you aren't going to be run by them because you're bringing some consciousness here. And that can really help with this lost and confused stuff. So if you want either of those resources, you can head to yourcourageouslife.com/begin. Once you sign up, you will get access to the Your Courageous Life library, and there's more stuff in the library than just those two resources. I have a thing for worksheets. Me and worksheets, we get along well. I like a good worksheet, so no shame here. So first, stop and slow down when you feel lost and confused. Don't try to do your way out of it. Second, decide that it's time to look at the stuff. Third, after you've taken some time to think about these things, you've downloaded and used the shift plan or the fear patterns workbook, I'm guessing that you're going to have some ideas about what it is that you want to shift or change. And the next question will be how to create a life where you feel courageous enough on a regular basis, where you're starting to make those changes. How will you cultivate that courage and boldness and bravery? And really, how will you stay on course? How will you be consistent? Well, this is where I get into, in the courage habit, I talk about creating a habit of courage. Because in the same way that example I gave earlier of people pleasing becoming a pattern that becomes a habit that can even become an identity, courage can become a pattern. You can respond to life's challenges from a place of courage, and that becomes your pattern. And then after you practice a pattern long enough, that becomes your habit, and that becomes the thing you turn to. And if you want to work on these tools in a deeper way, the Courageous Living Program, that's the other place that I will, encourage people to go to. Now, that is not free, but you can go to courageouslivingprogram.com if you want to check it out. And man, if you like worksheets, the Courageous Living Program is really going to be your thing because I've got some good worksheets in there. And I'm kind of joking about the worksheets, but I'm actually really, if I fully own it and don't joke about it, worksheets rock. It's like, you take something that feels really twisty and confusing and, it's this whole lost and confused thing, and you take it and you just break it down piece by piece. It's like if you have a whole closet to organize and everything is a mess and you have no bins to separate things into, it's completely overwhelming. But it's like if you have just one bin and then you have the support of going, okay, let me just pull my sweaters out of the closet and just put the sweaters in the bin. It just gets so much easier. And sometimes lives, to continue the metaphor, are like these messy closets. And I think worksheets and taking it piece by piece are how you break it down. It's how you take this big, lost, confused, messy, don't know what to do thing, and you just go, okay, let me slow down a little bit. Let me take just one piece of this and get a little clarity. Get out of the confusion, get into the clarity. I firmly believe that courage is not what you are. It's not something you're born with. It's what you choose to practice. So the more often you have something in place, it doesn't have to be the shift plan or the courageous living program or my book, The Courage Habit. It could be you call an accountability person, a friend of yours, after you listen to this, and you're like, hey, for 30 days, can we check in with one another about how we're doing about XYZ? I know we both struggle with it. It could be taking a workshop. It could be just, it's like there's all kinds of options that are out there. You got to choose one though and decide, I'm going to look at the hard stuff. And as these ideas emerge about what it is that I want to shift, I'm going to get consistent about doing the work. Okay. So you're starting to get a couple pieces into place. And along the way, you might actually be wondering, well, but why am I feeling this way? Like, why am I getting, and that might be a place where sometimes people get stuck, okay? I'm pointing this out because sometimes people get into this place they're going, okay, I'm going to get out of this lost and confused place by fully analyzing, spending a lot of time analyzing and trying to understand what the lost and confusedness is. Did it come from my childhood? Is it that teacher who told me I was nothing? Is it because I got a divorce a couple years ago? Is it because I became a parent too early? Like what, and it's like, okay, let's slow that part down too, because that can be almost like maybe a riptide, a little current that kind of pulls you away from the swim you're trying to undertake and get you a little bit stuck for a while. So we grow as humans. We change, we risk, we dare, we get afraid, lather, rinse, repeat. This is just what we do. That's why sometimes we feel lost and confused. You're going to run up against fear. Lost and confused, just more fear. And you're not always going to know what to do. And that is distinctly uncomfortable. But at least to my mind, and I am someone, I spent a lot of time and money in therapy trying to figure out the why. And when I first was a coach, I would spend a lot of time with my clients trying to help them figure out the why. And what I kept finding over and over is that the why is essentially unknowable on some level. Like, you might be going, okay, I really want to understand why I have such a scarcity mindset. And then you might go, it's because my parents did. They raised me with a scarcity mindset, and that's why I have a scarcity mindset. But really, you can't know that is why you have a scarcity mindset. Not really, really. Of course, it's a factor, but you can't know that that's it, because there are plenty of other people who grow up with parents who have a scarcity mindset who then decide, I don't want to be like that. So I'm going to do something different. I'm going to have an abundance mindset. So my point is that the why isn't as important in terms of how you're really going to feel better and get out of the lost and confused as doing the work to create a more courageous life, make the shifts that you want to make courage into a habit instead of just endlessly going, why? Let me analyze my entire history. Now, analysis and understanding of your history, of course, that can be a tool. I'm just saying, don't get lost in that as if it's the tool. What you ultimately want to do is, instead of feeling something uncomfortable and going, well, gosh, why do I feel this discomfort? Why do I have this pattern? Why? It's like, okay, what do you want to do about it? What do you want to shift? Where is the opportunity to be more courageous? That's a tool that actually will get you to feeling better faster. Again, understanding why or doing any analysis, it's not that has no value. It does, of course, it can be helpful. It's like if someone could tell you right now today that the reason that you feel lost and confused is because your mother was lost and confused a lot as a kid and just never really showed you how to handle stress differently. Like, okay, so now you have that insight, you have that understanding that there's a familial pattern that maybe there's a genetic component because we're still always understanding more about biochemistry. But in terms of you actually feeling better right here, right now, on that level of what's going to help you to feel better right here, right now, the why is not going to make you feel as good as going, okay, what's the opportunity here for me to slow down a bit, understand a bit about myself, and then decide, okay, how am I going to consciously create courage? And I just think that this question of, okay, I got what I got. I was raised how I was raised. I've got the patterns I've got that I've got. I've got the habits that I've got. What's the opportunity? Where can I be more courageous? That's a far more helpful thing to ask if in this scenario, as I am, helpful is being defined as what's going to get you out of that lost and confused place fastest. And I think the truth is anyone who's being really honest will tell you that they too feel confusion sometimes. I do. I mean, I'm an incredibly capable, strong, courageous person, and sometimes I get stuck in stuff and I feel lost and confused. And lost and confused can come up when you're daring to dream. And lost and confused can come up in the messy middle. And I'm doing another podcast episode coming up here about what it's like to navigate the messy middle. So I know this place. And lost and confused can be a normal part of taking risks, stretching to dream bigger, navigating several back-to-back life challenges, just not knowing what the hell am I doing. It's just so normal to hit places in your life where you will feel lost and confused. And analysis of it is not as helpful as, okay, what's the pattern that feeds it and what do I want to do about it? So you feel lost and confused. Instead of thinking something's wrong with you, decide to pause, slow down. Start asking yourself, what's the pattern here? What needs to shift? Start thinking about how to cultivate courage and particularly how to do it with consistency. And really understand that courage is not something you're born with. It's a series of choices you make until courage becomes a habit. And when you let courage become a habit, as life's challenges arrive, you stop asking, why am I feeling so lost and confused? Why? And start asking, okay, I'm feeling lost and confused. What do I want to shift? Now, I know there's been a lot of very direct statements made during this podcast. I would never want anyone to come away thinking that I'm saying this is just easy. I don't think it's just easy. I think it has moments of being easy and simple and, like, okay, got it, and moments of being really hard. But more than anything, I think making these choices isn't easy, but for your life and for the people who love you, it is so worth it. All right, that's today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. You know you can continue the work and the fun if you want to. Head on over to yourcourageouslife.com/begin and become a Your Courageous Life subscriber, because as soon as you sign up, you get access to an entire library of worksheets and audios and other bonuses. And of course, you'll be receiving more courage in your inbox. And who wouldn't love that? You can learn more about the Courageous Living Coach certification at teamclcc.com. You can get the Courage Habit at your local bookseller, on Amazon, wherever you like. We can even connect on social media. I'm on Facebook at Your Courageous Life. So look for facebook.com/Your Courageous Life. And I'm on Instagram as Kate Courageous. And I'd love to connect with you on Instagram. So here's to you, using these courageous tools in your life and creating a real ripple effect of good. And again, thanks so much for listening. I love it that you're here.